Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. Corey Hughes, Bloody History. So we're going to continue on with witness statements. We're going to go through a whole lot of witness statements, probably a couple weeks worth of witness statements. Some of these we might have already gone over. Some of them probably not. Most of them probably not. We're going to get to a lot of handwritten statements. Some things I haven't seen before. Most of it's pretty much, part of the standard literature, but some things like the statements of Bonnie Ray Williams that we'll get to in a couple days, like he's got like 3 or 4 different statements. You know what I mean? Some of them are handwritten, some are not, some are typed, some are reprints of his handwritten statement. So we're going to sort through a lot of that stuff. And remember, what are we looking for? We're looking for nuggets. That's all we're looking for. We're looking for little bits of data that we can connect to show that, what happened in the book depository that day. And as we go through this, we'll debunk the fucking second floor lunchroom story with a Coke. Never happened. Total fiction. We'll show that incident actually happened on either the 3rd or 4th floor in the stairwell. And it was clearly William Seymour, not Oswald. And we'll go through statements of Roger Craig again. We'll go through everybody. We'll go through everything we got from the Dallas Police Department. So we went over a stack from the Dallas Sheriff's Office. Very incomplete. But now we're going to go over some stuff from the Dallas Police Department, whose investigation was seemingly much more intense than the Sheriff's Department, because the Sheriff's Department kind of deferred to them because it was their jurisdiction. That, in the end, gives the Sheriff's Department a lot of leeway to do a lot of things. All right, let's get to it. April 10th, 1964, subject, William Francis Beckman II. Looks like it's written to Captain Ganaway, Special Services Division. Sir, the following submitted for your information. Subject was involved in a disturbance on the street in the 500 block of Elm Street. This date with Billy Nolan Lovelady. Lovelady is an employee of the Texas School Book Depository. This disturbance resulted from an attempt by subject to photograph Mr. Lovelady. Subject stated he had been hired by one Clay, looks like Felkner, of New York City, to photograph Mr. Lovelady. Mr. Lovelady reportedly was standing on the sidewalk in front of the depository at the time of the assassination of President Kennedy and was photographed at that time. Subject stated, that's wrong. He was in the doorway. He was not in the fucking sidewalk. He was on the doorway. The Alton's photo, not Oswald. It's Billy Lovelady. Subject stated that Felkner that the photo he had taken at the time actually a picture of Lee Harvey Oswald and not of Billy Nolan Lovelady. A new photograph of Lovelady is needed for comparison. Subject had approached Mr. Lovelady prior to the disturbance and asked permission to take his photograph, and Mr. Lovelady refused. Officer's comments: Mrs. Marguerite Oswald, mother of Lee Harvey Oswald, has made the same claim as Mr. Felkner, i.e. Lee Harvey Oswald was standing on the sidewalk in front of the depository and therefore could not have shot the president. Subject denies knowing Mrs. Marguerite Oswald and further that he is not working for her. Interesting, right? This is after the fact, April 10th, 1964, give or take. So April of 1964 is when this happened. You don't really hear too much about this, All right, page 2. Subject gave his home address as 6409 Dakar in Fort Worth. This is the home of his father, William Francis Beckman. Subject was born in Swampscott, Massachusetts. He attended Yale University for 1 semester in 1956 and was dropped from school because of low grades. He entered the U.S. Marine Corps in February 21st, 1957 and was discharged February 20th, 1959 as a private first class. He received an honorable discharge. Copy of his discharge was found on his person. After leaving the Marine Corps, subject attended the University of Texas but did not receive a degree. While at University of Texas, subject stated that he attended numerous meetings of the Young Democrats of Texas but was not actually a member. He further stated that several of his friends were members. This organization is considered highly liberal. Subject had following listed telephone numbers, names, and addresses on his person. Mary Margaret Powell, W.R. Gilliland, let me see, Martin Willis, Bill Bollinger, Billy Bollinger. Looks like about it. So nothing overly suspicious here. Subject stated that he's been living at 165 East 49th Street. For the past several months, he's been attempting to gain employment as a writer or photographer. He's been employed by Clay Faulkner for about 2 weeks. He was hired for the express purpose of obtaining a photograph of Billy Nolan Lovelady. Subject is a holder of Texas commercial license 504032658, Blue eyes, brown hair. Billy Lovelady lives at 7722 Hume Drive, no phone. The indices of the Identification Bureau of this department failed to reveal a criminal record on subject. Search of indices was made by Clerk Vickery. The indices of the Records Bureau of this department failed to reveal an arrest record on subject. The search of indices was made by Clerk Flowers. The indices of the Identification Bureau of the Dallas County Sheriff's Office failed to reveal a criminal record on the subject. Search of indices was made by Deputy Slovak. Indices of CIS failed to reveal any information. All right. Next statement here. January 17th, 69. Fast forward a little bit. Subject, Jim Garrison, District Attorney, New Orleans, Louisiana. Looks like it's two. Mr. M.W. Stevenson, Assistant Chief of Police, Inspections Bureau. Sir, at 6:30 p.m., January 16th, 69, Sergeant H.M. Hart received information that the subject had two investigators in Dallas for the purpose of interviewing motorcycle officer J.M. Cheney about the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Further information revealed that the two investigators were staying at the Cabana Motor Hotel, 899 Stemmons Freeway. The names of the investigators were reported to be Alvin Oser and Alford. No further information. At 9 a.m. on this date, Detective M.H. Brumley and investigator A.J. Carroll went to the Cabana Motor Hotel to interview the investigators, but they were not in their room. A note was left by Brumley asking the investigators to contact his office. At 1:30 p.m. on this date, Mr. Alford contacted Brumley by telephone, stating that he and Alvin Oser were investigators with the New Orleans District Attorney's staff and were in Dallas to interview motorcycle officers Billy Joe Martin and Bobby Hargis in regard to the assassination. Alford stated that he had made several unsuccessful attempts to contact these officers at their homes and at work and felt that they were avoiding him. Alford further stated that he wanted to know if these officers would appear in the trial of Clay Shaw voluntarily at the expense of subject, as he felt that their testimony was necessary to the case. Pursuant to your instructions, Sergeant W.L. House contacted Alford by telephone and advised him that Martin and Hargis would appear for the trial in New Orleans only if they were directed to by a lawful subpoena issued through the courts requiring their appearance. Alford stated that he would rather them be there voluntarily, as he could pay more of their expenses that way, but if they had to be subpoenaed, he would instigate those proceedings. Alford then stated that if they had to be subpoenaed, it would not be necessary for him to interview the officers at this time. Sergeant W.L. House also notice the last name of House, okay? House. Is there a connection between Sergeant W.L. House, and I'm pretty confident that there was a uniformed officer up on the knoll named House at the time of the assassination, possibly the same person, because this is years later, right? And then you have David Wayne House, who will later be arrested that day out of Fort Worth. Connection? Possibly. I don't know. Maybe we should look into it. But one thing I've learned over the years is that just because people have the same last name don't mean shit. Really, we see that all the fucking time. All right, and then it says Bobby Hargis by telephone and advised them that these officers' efforts in trying to contact him. Hargis is in room G1 at Methodist Hospital recovering from leg surgery. Page 2, January 17th, 69. Motorcycle officer Billy Joe Martin was not available for notification, but his supervisor, Sergeant C.F. Williams, was notified of this information and will relay it to Martin when he reports for duty at 6 p.m. on this date. The two investigators checked into room 315 at the Cabana Motor Hotel at 8:41 p.m., January 15th, 1969, with registration in the name of Alvin Oser, 6734 General Hague Street, New Orleans, Louisiana. Both of them are staying in one room, but only one is registered. And that's from W.L. House, Sergeant of the Intelligence Division. All right, back to December 5th, 1963. to Mr. J.E. Curry, Jesse Curry, Chief of Police. Interview with Bobby Finley, Dallas Times-Herald. Sir, Mr. Finley was interviewed approximately 4:45 p.m. December 4th, 1963. Mr. Finley stated that he arrived at City Hall November 24th, 63 at approximately 8:15 a.m. with his helper Bob Jackson, and that his identification was actually not checked, but he personally knew those officers when he entered. Mr. Finley actually didn't take any pictures, but was standing in the area where the cars would turn to go into the basement, parking with Bob Jackson standing to his left. Mr. Finley stated he did not know Jack Ruby and would have had a chance to at least see most of the people present before the shooting, but does not remember seeing this man there. Respectfully submitted, P.J. McCarran, McCaghren, McCarran, silent G, maybe? I don't know. All right, next one, February 17th, 64. Captain Ganaway through Lieutenant Jack Revell. Subject, Criminal Intelligence, Pat Lawrence. White female, 302 North Windermere. Sir, pursuant to the instructions of Captain Ganaway, an investigation was conducted with the following results. Subject was interviewed by the undersigned officers and stated she had been working for the Macmillan Publishing Company on the third floor of the schoolbook depository at 411 Elm Street for 2 years and 1 month. Subject also stated that she was standing in front row of persons on Elm Street at the time of the assassination. Subject stated she did not know Lee Harvey Oswald, but could have seen him several times in the employee lounge of the depository that is located on the second floor of the building. Subject stated that she did not see Oswald the day of the assassination and that she knew of no associates of Oswald's. Subject also stated that she knew Joe Molina only casually, had seen him several times in the hallways and on the elevator in the depository. Subject stated that she knew Jack Ruby on site as she frequented the Vegas Club on her off hours. Subject further stated she was casually acquainted with Eva Grant, Ruby's sister, who operated the Vegas Club and had spoken to her on several occasions. Subject also stated that she had never seen Ruby around the book depository or in the company of Oswald. All right. Next one, Captain Ganaway through Jack Revell. Subject, Billy Lovelady. Sir, the subject has been bothered the past 2 weeks by a white male who's been attempting to take his picture. The subject was interviewed on this date and stated that the white male came to the above listed location in a truck with the same name, Beckman Construction Company, on the side, Texas 64 license 1Y-1095, and attempted to take his picture. He was unsuccessful. He later returned in a 1964 Chevrolet with Texas 1964 license plate EE6790. Attempted to take subject's picture. Subject stated that the white male told him he was working for a man in New York City who needed subject's picture, but that he was not sure of his employer's name. White male stated to the subject that he did not know what the picture was needed for. Mr. Truly, who was the superintendent at the book depository, stated that he made the white male leave the building and ordered him to stay away, but that he's still hanging around outside the location with a camera. Subject stated that he looks similar to Lee Harvey Oswald and thinks Oswald's mother is attempting to prove his picture was taken in front of the depository that day of the assassination, and it's not him, but was in fact her son Lee Oswald. Respectfully submitted, V.J. Bryan, Detective, Criminal Intelligence Section. All right, jumping forward again. I love the continuity here. August 13th, 68. Mr. Batchelor, Charles Batchelor, Chief of Police. Interview with the Assistant District Attorney from the New Orleans office of District Attorney Jim Garrison. Sir, on Wednesday, August 7th, 68, at approximately 11 a.m., I received a telephone call at my residence from Bobby Hargis. He informed me that the Assistant District Attorney and another man named Bethel were wanting to interview as concerning events at the time of the president's assassination. I stated I did not want to talk to those men and that I had nothing to say to them, nor did I feel well enough to talk with anyone. I told him I definitely did not have anything related to relay concerning the assassination, and at his insistence, however, I agreed to let them come to my home. At 1 p.m., they arrived at my residence. They wanted to interview me on events that took place at Dealey Plaza. They questioned me on the directions of the shots, where I thought they originated from. They also asked if I saw Bobby Hargis after the shooting. I I replied that I did not know where the shots were coming from, nor had I remembered particularly seeing Hargis after the shots were fired. These men wanted to make a taped record of my statements. I refused to do this. I informed them that anything I had said was on file with the Warren Commission, and I had absolutely no comment to make to them. They also asked me if I was surprised when the motorcade turned from Main Street onto Houston Street. My only reply was no. They said they wanted me to come to New Orleans to testify, but I told them I would not come unless a subpoena made it mandatory that I appear. They further asked if the police department here had questioned me about the assassination. To this, I replied that anything concerning Dallas Police Department could be answered by contacting Chief Batchelor. These men concluded their visit in approximately 10 minutes from the time they entered. That's from Patrolman Martin. So here's the deal. When you got a police agency where you have a command structure and you have cops on the street and they have supervisors that go all the way up to the chief and all that stuff, and then you have an outside agency wanting to come in and talk to them, right? There's like procedure on how you do that. Like, I can't believe Jim Garrison would go to their fucking homes. Well, I can believe it. Jim Garrison was audacious, right? And he knew he had to step on toes to get things done. And so I understand why he did what he did. But in the modern day, that wouldn't be fucking tolerated at all. Like, there would be major, major hostility. Not that there wasn't back then between these agencies, but they have a veil of politeness between them, right? So what would really happen is, like, the Jim Garrison's office, and say it's 2024, they would, in New Orleans District Attorney, they would contact the Dallas Police Department, right? And let's assume that the Dallas Police Department is not fucking corrupt, right? So I worked for an agency in Pinellas County that was in Florida that was very, very by the book. I mean, they were on point. They ran a tight ship, and it was a great agency, really, administratively. They didn't tolerate bullshit from their officers. They didn't tolerate the excessive use of force. They were really quick to pick up on who should be there and who shouldn't be there. And I can say with certainty that an agency like that would be 100% cooperative in every way with the district attorney in New Orleans. There wouldn't be a question at all. Anything they wanted, they would accommodate. There would not be any kind of blocking of information or interviews or anything like that. Now, take an agency that's complicit in the assassination. Dallas Police Department, active participants in the assassination, are complicit in the cover-up and all the stuff and the setup and knowing about the Texas Theater incident. And, all that stuff was set up in advance. The fact there was a cop car in the alley when Tippit got shot. Dallas police was in on every aspect of it. Therefore, they're going to stonewall, right? If they weren't guilty, why would they stonewall, right? They wouldn't. Unless they were being pressured from the feds. All right, affidavit in fact. Before me, Francis B-O-C-K-E, I can't tell what the fuck that is, a notary public, who, after being duly sworn, blah, blah, blah. All right, so who did they swear in? They swore in Seth Cantor. Okay, Seth Cantor, known connections to the CIA. Who, after being duly sworn, oath deposes and says, and this is typed written, it says, quote, is terrible. Should I close my place for 3 days? He appeared to be very upset. I told him that I thought he should, but he did not continue the conversation. Okay, this is like a page 2. That should be from a page. That's like a page 2. It's out of order. Is there a page 1 in here? No, they have a duplicate page 2. Okay, so I love when they fucking do this. So, So it looks like they cut out page 1 and they duplicated page 2. This is a typical tactic in a lot of these documents. And why would they fucking do that? They did that because on page 1, it's where Seth Cantor says that he ran into Jack Ruby at Parkland Hospital. Right? It says, that was the only time I saw Jack Ruby during the period of Friday, November 22nd until the moment of the shot in the basement on Sunday, November 24th. And there is no page 1 there. Right? Oh, wait a minute. It might be here. It might just be out of order. Hang on. All right, so we got that second page duplicated twice. And then we have page 1. Here we go. All right, sounds good. Seth Cantor, Dallas CIA fucking newspaper man scumbag. I work for the Scripps Howard Company. Yes, it's through Scripps that is, I'm sure the Scripps was CIA concocted by then. I worked for the Scripps Howard Company in Washington, D.C. On Sunday, November 24th, 63. I came down the elevator to the basement of the police and the courts building. I was double-checked when I got out of the elevator in the basement. I was still wearing a paper badge on my lapel and showed my Washington press ID to a uniformed officer, and he still would not allow me to pass until he called another officer, whom I believe was a plainclothes officer, and he allowed me to go into the basement area past the corridor that's in front of the windows to the jail office. I went into the jail office outside admitting desks and remained there by the east wall until approximately 4 minutes prior to the shooting, when officers came in the jail office and had us move out across to the east side of the ramp. Bob Fenley and I remained beside the post at the north end of the exit that is between the ramp and the basement parking area. I do not know Jack Ruby. I'm sorry. I read that wrong. I do know Jack Ruby. I did not see Jack Ruby in the basement of City Hall until Oswald came out of the jail office. I heard someone say, "Here he comes." Then, while looking intently at Oswald, I did see an arm with a hand holding a gun come into view. I heard an officer shout, "Jack, you SOB," just immediately before the shot. I did not see Ruby well enough to know whom the officers had arrested until I was told it was Jack Ruby. This information was given to Bob Fenley by some detective who appeared to be weeping. I saw Ruby's hat on the floor of the basement. I knew Ruby fairly well when I worked with the Times-Herald, and I remember at Parkland Hospital on Friday, he came up to behind me and pulled the back of my coat tail. I turned around and he called me by name and we shook hands. This was just before 1:30 p.m. Ruby said, quote, let me jump back to the previous page. "This is terrible. Should I close my place for business for 3 days?" He appeared to be very upset. I told him I thought he should, but did not continue the conversation. That was the only time I saw Jack during the period of Friday, November 22nd, 63. Now, why is this fucking significant? It's significant because Jack Ruby, as per the Warren Commission, was never at Parkland Hospital that day. Jack Ruby was seen by another woman there, a nurse by the name of Wilma Tice, Tice, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while since I've read about that. But there was a second witness to seeing Jack Ruby there. That's at 1:30 p.m. Jack Ruby will leave from there very shortly after this time, around 1:30, and he will drive to the Texas Theater, where he will park the green pickup truck and leave it running in the back, which will then be searched by Stringfellow. Jack Ruby will be sitting in the back of the theater and identified by George Applin as having been in there. Of course he was in there. Jack Ruby was in... Do I have to really explain this? Jack Ruby was balls deep in this thing from the jump. And he didn't want to shoot Oswald, but he had to. The order came down from Al Gruber, from L.A. And who was in L.A.? Or who was the connection to L.A.? Of course, it's Mickey Cohen and the fucking Jews, right? Menachem Begin. And Yitzhak Shamir, who at the time of the assassination were in America as, quote, roaming ambassadors. Fuck right off. Roaming ambassadors hanging out with the fucking mob in LA and New York and other places. So, what am I talking about? So, yeah, this is a big deal because the official story says that Seth Cantor couldn't have seen, and he must have been mistaken, didn't see Jack Ruby, but Seth Cantor was very positive. That's who he saw. And it's 1:30. Where is Samuel Ruby at this time? Not too sure. Not too sure. I don't know what happens to Samuel Ruby until he shows up in the hallway at the police department. All right, moving on. Yeah, the Seth Cantor stuff at Parkland Hospital, very, very interesting. I might have to extract a lot of this stuff for that chapter when I get to it on the Oswald shooting. I really need to spend some time on the Oswald shooting and go through everyone's statements because that's going to be the final chapter of the update to my book. I'm planning an update to my book that will have somewhere between 4 and 6 chapters added to it. Depending, because I'm trying to keep all the Jew stuff, all the Israel stuff, for a separate book. That's going to be a warning from history, too. But I got 4 to 6 chapters. I got more like 8 or 10 chapters, but I'm only going to insert like 4 to 6 chapters into the book update. I'll do one on the Oswald shooting. I have to do one on the Texas School Book Depository because I got to talk about Jack Kaysen, even though there's nothing to talk about. I could put every goddamn thing there is about that guy on one page of a book. And so that tells me everything I need to know about his involvement in letting the shooters into the building at 12:10 p.m., the exact same time that Arnold Rowland claims to have seen people on the 6th floor. So right as Kaysen's going out the back door, he's letting the assassins in the back door, who then take the elevator up to the 6th floor. And Arcacho will make his way to the roof. All right, let me continue. Let me see what's here. We got a little card here. It says, police officers present at Oswald's interrogation. November 24th, 63, 9:30 a.m., Inspector Holmes. So let me just say this. We cannot credit or believe or use in any evidentiary manner a single fucking word that anyone allegedly says that Oswald says while he's being interrogated. We have no fucking proof, and we're getting this stuff from a bunch of liars. Okay? So when they say that Oswald says, oh, that's Miss Payne's station wagon, leave her out of this. Bullshit. Nonsense. We can't trust Roger Craig or any of those fucking people to have told us the truth about what Oswald allegedly said. Okay? We just don't know. And there's even the fucking notes that were taken, like Hostie's notes and a couple other things, like, they're nonsensical. We don't know. We can't trust these fucking scumbags. So when people try to use things that Oswald said while he's in custody as evidence of anything, you need to completely fucking disregard it. Completely disregard it. All right, December 5th, 1963. Interview with Robert Jackson, Dallas Times-Herald. Mr. J.E. Curry, Chief of Police. Sir, Mr. Jackson was interviewed approximately 5 p.m. on December 4th, 1963. Mr. Jackson arrived at City Hall with Bob Finley. So we got a Finley and a Fenley. Interesting. He took no pictures before the shooting. He took one picture about the instant of the shooting and 2 pictures later. One showing Oswald being placed in the ambulance. These pictures are not available at this time and are in New York and will probably be available sometime tomorrow. Robert Jackson stated that he had seen Jack Ruby at one occasion at the photo laboratory, Times-Herald, and he thinks he would have recognized him if he'd seen him in the basement of City Hall. Mr. Jackson was standing near the automobile that was headed out the Commerce Street exit. And that's from P.J. There we go with that name again, McCarran, M-C-C-A-G-H-R-E-N. That strikes me as like overly Scottish or Irish or one of those fucking two. Captain Ganaway through Lieutenant Jack Revell. Subject, Criminal Intelligence, Roy Edward Lewis. Colored male, 21. I love the notes they used to use. Sir, pursuant to the instructions of Captain Ganaway, subject investigation was conducted with the following results. Subject, who resides at 5906 Woodville, has been an employee of the Texas School Book Depository, Houston and Elm. For several months, subject stated that he knew Lee Harvey Oswald when he saw him, but that he did not associate with him. He stated Oswald stayed by himself most of the time. Subject stated that he was in the entrance of the building when the president was assassinated. That's a complete fucking lie. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Subject stated he was in the entrance of the building when the president was assassinated. Nonsense. That's a fabricated statement. There's no fucking way Oswald could have said that because why? We cannot put Oswald in the building. No fucking person on planet Earth can put Oswald in the book depository on November 22nd. And that tells me he wasn't fucking there. Every aspect of Oswald's presence in the building is debunked. Or if not debunked, has major holes that need explanation, which no one will give us. Like in the beginning when fucking Oswald allegedly shows up at Buell Frazier's house and he's allegedly wearing a gray, more or less flannel wool looking jacket. Okay? Number one, we know Oswald wasn't wearing a jacket that day. So what's up with that statement? Oswald was never known to have worn a jacket like that. Lindy Mae Randall also says Oswald was wearing a tan shirt and a gray jacket when he arrived that morning. Not fucking Oswald. Clearly not Oswald. None of the incidents inside the building allegedly with Oswald were Oswald. They were William Seymour. All right? If you're going to set up a patsy in an assassination in the building that he allegedly works at, are you going to let this motherfucker wander around the building while you're setting him up? It's the dumbest fucking story of all time, I swear to God. And this is why Kennedy researchers are so fucking low IQ. I fucking hate them because they're so fucking stupid, because they can't even think rationally about anything. If you're setting someone up in a building and you're gonna leave them the patsy in the assassination of the fucking president, are you gonna let them free to wander around the fucking building and possibly stumble upon the assassins as it's happening? No, never in a million years. It's the dumbest story ever. Gets me so fucking angry. The dumbest story. Oswald wasn't there that day. So any statements that you see about Oswald being in the book depository are either A, referencing a witness who saw William Seymour. All right, next statement, Marianne Moorman. I think we read this one in the last bunch of statements. All right, we already read Mary Moorman's statement the other day, so I'm going to skip over it. But we have Gene Hill's statement here, and I'm going to go ahead and reread Gene Hill's statement, even though we've already covered this one, just because I want to beat into your fucking head the fact that she saw a man run behind the book depository into the railroad yards. So let's knock this one out real quick. Mary and I were wanting to take some pictures of the president, so we purposely tried to find a place that was open where no people were around, and we had been standing halfway down toward the underpass on Elm Street on the south side. We were the only people in that area who were standing right at the curb. The president's car came around the corner, and it was over on our side of the street. Just as Mary Moorman started to take a picture, we were looking at the president and Jackie in the back seat, and they were looking at a little dog between them. That's a weird thing about the little dog. Just as the president looked up toward us, 2 shots rang out, and I saw the president grab his chest and fall forward towards Jackie's lap, and she fell across his back and said, "My God, he's been shot." There was an instant pause between the first 2 shots, and the motorcade seemingly halted for an instant, and 3 or 4 more shots rang out, and the motorcade sped away. I thought I saw some men in plain clothes shooting back, but everything was such a blur, and Mary was pulling on my leg saying, "Get down there. They're shooting." I looked across the street and up the hill and saw a man running towards the monument. I started running over there. By the time we got up to the railroad yard, some policemen that I suppose were in the motorcade or nearby had also arrived and were turning us back as I came down the hill. Mr. Featherstone of the Times-Herald had gotten to Mary, asked her for her picture, and she had taken to the president. She brought us up to the press room down to the sheriff's office and asked to stay. So she kind of brushes over it really quickly here. Only says that one line. I believe she expands upon that in a different statement. Hopefully that statement will be in here somewhere. All right, the Hesters. Oh, we didn't read the Hester statements, I don't think. Okay. So the Hesters are an interesting one because there's a photograph, a very famous photograph of the people running towards the grassy knoll, running up the stairs and all that stuff. And the Hesters are the couple that are on the stairs. And people have done some pretty interesting photo analysis of them. And it looks like they had a camera and I forget some of the details, but maybe some stuff in their pockets that people thought were suspicious. And people thought some of the appearance of them was suspicious in the photographs. Let's see what the statement says. It says, my wife Beatrice and I were sitting on the grass on the slope of Elm Street where the park is located. When President Kennedy's car almost got to the underpass, I heard 2 shots ring out. They sounded like they came from immediately behind us and over our heads. We did see the shooting. I immediately turned and looked at the Texas Book Depository building and did not see anyone. The shots sounded like they definitely came from in or around the building. I grabbed my wife because I didn't know where the next shot was coming from and dragged her up to the concrete embankment and threw her down on the ground and got on the ground with her. Then there was utter confusion. The police rushed toward the railroad tracks, and I finally found an officer to go to the Texas School Book Depository building. The officer I contacted was Officer Wiseman of Dallas Police Department. Yeah, he doesn't mention himself running up the steps, but I'm pretty sure it was the Hesters that were identified in that photograph. So even more questions to ask about them. All right. Next one. Subject, criminal intelligence, Pat Lawrence, white female, 302 Windermere. I don't remember if we read this one or not. Sir, pursuant to the instructions of Captain Ganaway, an investigation was conducted with the following results. Subject was interviewed by the undersigned officers and stated that she had been working at the Macmillan Publishing Company on the third floor of the Schoolbook Depository at 411 Elm for 2 years and a month. Subject also stated she was standing on the front row of persons on Elm Street at the time of the assassination. Yeah, we read this one. Next one is just a cover sheet. Interview with Mary Hollies. Looks like Hollies. This interview with Miss Hollies took place February 18th, 64, 12:15 p.m. Miss Mary Hollies lives at 242 West Davis, Dallas, Texas, but has no telephone. She's employed by Scott Foreman, the fourth floor, Texas Schoolbook Depository. On November 22nd, 1963, Miss Hollies was on the fourth floor of the Texas Schoolbook Depository building, was standing with Alice Foster looking out a window watching the presidential parade. At about 12:35 p.m., Miss Hollies heard 3 shots. Just as the president's car was headed down towards a triple underpass, she stated the shots sounded as if they came from inside the building. Miss Hollies stated she never left the building. The police came and talked to her shortly afterward. Miss Hollies stated she did not know Oswald, but had seen him in the lunchroom of the Texas Schoolbook Depository on numerous occasions. She does not know Jack Ruby. All right, so that was Mary Hollies. Now we got Patsy. Patsy Collins is the notary public. On this day appeared Jack Doherty. Okay, so we've talked about Jack Doherty a bit, and people try to throw him into some conspiracy stuff, man, but I think this guy's got problems. He's got shell shock from the war, which is what, PTSD. He's got some issues, right? His statements, his parents had to be there with him. The guy's like 40-something years old. You know, this guy, I don't really throw too much weight behind him being involved in anything. So it says, I'm employed at Texas Schoolbook Depository, 411 Elm, and have been since 52. I was working on the 6th floor today. There was 6 of us working on the floor. The others were Bill Lovelady, William Shelley, Danny Ark, Bonnie Williams, and Charles Givens. I worked until 12 noon and went down on the first floor and ate my lunch and went back to work at 12:45 p.m. I'd already gone back to work, and I'd gone down on the 5th floor to get some stock when I heard the shot. See, yeah, his times are all off and stuff, right? And people try to make a big deal of his times being off, but this guy has problems. It sounded like it was coming from inside the building, but I couldn't tell from where. I went down on the first floor and asked a man named Eddie Piper if he had heard anything, and he said yes, that he had heard 3 shots. I went back to the 6th floor. I didn't see anyone on the floor except people I named. There was another. See, that couldn't be possibly correct either, right? This is after 12:30, and no one was on the 6th floor at that time. There was another employee that's named Lee Oswald that I saw on the 6th floor. He was all over the building, but I saw him on the 6th floor shortly before noon. I didn't see Oswald in the building after lunch. That's from Jack Doherty. All right. Looks like we have a report on officers' duties in regards to Officer Tippett's murder from Officer Lavelle. On my arrival in the 400 block of East 10th Street, I talked with Sergeant Bud Owens and Officer J.M. Poe, P-O-E. At the same time, a call came out that a person fitting the description of the suspect was seen entering the Texas Theater on West Jefferson. I attempted to reach the Texas Theater in the 200 block of West Jefferson, but was unable to do so because of the traffic. Officer Poe had given me the name of a woman who was an eyewitness to the shooting. Her name was Helen Markham, like the most worthless witness ever. I don't even quote her in my book at all. Of 328 East 9th, a waitress at the Eat Well Cafe on Main Street. Also that the manager of the used car lot at 501 East Jefferson had also heard the shooting and seen the suspect running from the scene. Remember, that's Warren Reynolds, right? Warren Reynolds, who's an associate of General Walker, Lauren Hall, right? I'm starting to think that there was a lot more to Warren Reynolds being on scene at the Tippett shooting than he just happened to be a witness there. He might have been part of the orchestration of it and why they picked that location in the first place. Officer Poe also told me someone had picked up 2 empty .38 holes from the street and given them to him, but he did not know who it was. After the arrest of Oswald at the Texas Theater, I was told over the police radio that Squad 91 had the witness to the shooting and was en route to City Hall. I then returned to City Hall and my office. I assisted other officers in taking affidavits and answering the telephone. I took affidavits from Charles Douglas Givens and Billy Nolan Lovelady. I was then directed by Captain Fritz to locate the woman witness to Tippett's murder and take her to the show-up room to view Lee Oswald in a lineup. I found Helen Markham in the police emergency room with Detective Graves. She was suffering from shock. As soon as she was able, I took her to show-up room and called Captain Fritz, who had Oswald brought down and placed in a lineup. At 4:35 p.m., November 22nd, 63, Helen Markham identified Oswald as the number 2 man in a 4-man lineup as the man who had shot Officer Tippett. Also present was Chief Curry, Captain Fritz, and Detective Graves. There may have been others in the room, I don't recall. Detective Graves and I then took Helen Markham to her home in Oak Cliff. We stopped at the used car lot, 501 East Jefferson, and talked to the manager, Ted Galloway, who told me he had seen the suspect running from the scene with a gun in his hand and how he was dressed with dark trousers, light shirt color, jacket, and a T-shirt. That the shirt and jacket were open, and he could see the T-shirt. A colored porter, Sam Grignard of Waxahachie, Texas, said he also saw the suspect and could identify him. I also talked with another employee at the lot, Domingo Benavides, 509 East Jefferson, who said he went to the scene of the shooting and picked up 2 empty holes and gave them to Officer Poe. When he returned to our office, where Captain Fritz told me to call the above people to come down in a lineup, I called Mr. Galloway, who came down and brought Sam Ginnard with him. We went directly to the show-up room. While waiting for the show-up, I took an affidavit from both of the above men. At 6:30 p.m., Oswald was brought down, where he was identified by both Galloway and Grignard as the same man they had seen running from the scene of Officer Tippett's killing with a gun in hand. He was identified as number 2 man in a 4-man lineup. Mr. Galloway and Ginnard were then taken up to a crime lab on the 4th floor, where Captain Doherty showed us a jacket that was found along the route taken by the suspect from the scene of the Tippett shooting. They identified it as the same one, or just like the one worn by the suspect. I returned to the homicide office, where I worked until 1:30 a.m. Saturday morning. I went home and returned at 8 a.m. Saturday, November 23rd, 63. During the day, I did general office work and took 2 more affidavits. One from Mr. Truly, supervisor of Texas School Book Depository, 411 Elm, and another employee of the business, Mrs. Reed, R-E-I-D. I also took an affidavit from W.W. Scoggins, a cab driver who was near the scene of the Tippett shooting, and witnessed the same. At 2:15 p.m., another show-up was held where Scoggins identified Oswald as the man he saw shoot Officer Tippett. At this time, show-up was William Wayne Whaley, another cab driver who drove Oswald from the Greyhound bus depot to the 500 block of North Beckley. He also identified Oswald as the number 3 man in 4-man lineup. Others in the lineup were number 1, Thurman Horn, 2, David Knapp, 3, Oswald, and 4, Daniel Lujan, L-U-J-O-N. I worked until 9 p.m. this date, and I was told to return at 8:30 a.m. the next day, Sunday, November 24th, by Captain Fritz. He said he would transfer Oswald about 10 a.m. All right. Next one, Danny Garcia Arc. Danny Garcia, 18-year-old Hispanic male. Clearly in part of the setup because he's photographed on a radio out in Dilley Plaza. Says, I'm employed at Texas School Book Depository at 411 Elm. I work all over the building. I was working on the 6th floor all morning. At lunchtime, 12 noon, I went down on the street to see the parade and get a look at the president. I was standing on the corner of Elm and Houston, and I heard 3 shots ring out. I didn't know what happened until I heard a woman scream that the president had been shot. While working on the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository, the only people I saw all morning was Billy Shelley, Bonnie Ray Williams, Charles Douglas Givens, Billy Lovelady, and Jack Doherty. The only person I saw was a real old man. He had on an old brown suit and a Western-type hat. I saw this man leave the building and drive off in an old black Buick. This man was not carrying anything in his hands when I saw him. This man was in the building after lunch. This man left in the car before the president was shot. I didn't see any other people in the building but this old man, other than the people that I named that work here. There was another employee that I saw named Lee Oswald. He was on the 6th floor of the building when I saw him at 8 a.m. This is the same man I saw the police bring into Homicide Bureau about 2 p.m. I also saw him on the 5th floor as we were leaving for lunch at 11:50 a.m. All right. And I think that's where we're going to wrap it up for today. We're going to pick it up here tomorrow. Make sure you tune in later for a new episode of Bloody History World War II. Thanks, everybody.